Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here at Citizen Assembly Women. We will get started with some introductions. My name is Lois Diggs. I've been with Citizen Assembly since November of 2020, and I'm in the coastal city of Norfolk, Virginia, and 2 words to describe myself right now are relaxed and energized. So we'll go around the room. You can give your name, where you are or where you're from, and 2 words to describe yourself in the moment. Okay?
Yes, thank you, Lois. Hello, everyone. My name is Kay. I am in San Jose, California, and 2 words to describe me right now is happy, and I'm also excited about today's subject.
Thank you, Kay. Awesome. Stacy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Stacy Gustafson. I split my time between Northern Michigan and Southwest Texas, and I am ready and extra excited for today's topic. I have reached a new level of interest. I'm really looking forward to this one. Thank you.
Great, Stacy. This sounds good. There's lots of excitement in the room. Kat, it's your turn. Introduce yourself, and then you can go right into presenting for your topic of the day.
My name is Kathleen Newman, and I'm running the topic for today, which is ageism. I'm excited about the topic, and I live in Stockport, UK. And 2 words, excited and laid back, I guess.
Thank you, Kat. So you have the ability to share your screen. We're ready to see what you have to share.
Okay, so this is the video by Lady Tron. It's a British group, and she wrote a song called 17, and it was about her modeling career. She had went for several interviews where she was going for modeling jobs, and she wrote this song about the fact that they didn't want her anymore because she was 21 and not 17. So I just thought I'd show this. Okay, so it's stop there. And so you see in the video, they're taking out the girls they don't want, which are obviously probably older, than the other girls left in the room. So it's sort of an example of like age discrimination when you're younger. Okay, and so that was Lady Tron. And there's another video show about which pretty by Ashton Applewhite about Let's End Ageism. And I thought it pretty much said everything I wanted to say about ageism. I mean, I grew up as part of Generation X, the generation between the baby boomers and the millennials, born between 1965 and 1980, or otherwise known as the MTV generation. We were tagged as rebellious and reluctant to grow up. This still holds true to this day. My generation started so much that we know of today: Amazon, SpaceX, VHS tapes to Netflix, the internet to 5G. We are the generation that produced the most technological innovation of any generation before us. We started the future, essentially, and we coined the phrase, "It smells like teen spirit." But now we are middle-aged, growing older, and we are dealing with ageism, which is strange for us since we are the adaptive generation, forward thinking in our minds. And even though we lived during the Cold War, which made us a bit cynical, we still have hope for the future. Today's society is obsessed by youth. If Kim Kardashian has a picture of what her real face looks like without all the filters, then it's a big controversy if it's shown in public. I get up every morning wondering if this society really needs me anymore. I look at my body and would say my generation has grown older pretty gracefully. I know that I am older, but in my mind, I'm still that young 20 to 30 something, adventurous, with an adventurous spirit. Now I'm only middle aged, but employers see me and the mood seems to turn. I do still have usefulness left in me. I am not mentally incapacitated or dead. I'm still alive and want a life. I was reading an article on LinkedIn that was really inspiring by this 80-year-old woman who got a degree and kept up a 4.0 grade average while getting her degree. And the woman who wrote this article said, proof that it's never too late to pursue your dreams and accomplish your goals. And that she graduated from HBCU, Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University, makes the news even sweeter. Donzella Washington, 80 years old, graduated from Alabama A&M University on December 6th with a bachelor's degree in social work. Not only did she graduate magna cum laude, she also received a 4.0 GPA in her final semester. She said, I want to inspire and motivate others that age is not a barrier, Washington said. And I want to emphasize the life between the dash. Along with her academic accomplishments, Washington's big moment was monumental as she made history as oldest graduate of Alabama A&M in the 144-year history. Washington is a Los Angeles native, and she dedicates her degree to her husband of nearly 50 years. I wanted to finish in his honor, she told ABC News. In 2010, her mother died, followed by her sister and her husband's death, which all happened in a 3-year span. Washington said her motivation behind going back to school was her husband, Jeff, who was one of her biggest supporters. I have a link here to who this woman is. So I thought I'd show everybody a picture. Oh, I'm not sure why this post can't be displayed. Hold on, it's here she is, the woman who graduated that I was talking about. Does everybody see her?
I think
Hello?
you need to screen share.
What?
I think you need to screen share.
Oh, I thought I was screen sharing. I was screen sharing, but screen sharing. Okay. This is her.
Okay, we can see it now.
I think it's really inspirational, you know, and much older woman. So I think people should be still considered valid, even though they're might be more elderly and getting a degree, like this woman. Okay, let's see. And this is the woman Ashton Applewhite on TED Talks, talking about ageism.
Should this tactical Zoom lens be made illegal?
What's one thing that every person in this room is going to become? Older. And most of us are scared stiff at the prospect. How does that word make you feel? I used to feel the same way. What was I most worried about? Ending up drooling in some grim institutional hallway. And then I learned that only 4% of older Americans are living in nursing homes, and the percentage is dropping. What else was I worried about? Dementia. Turns out that most of us can think just fine to the end. Dementia rates are dropping too. The real epidemic is anxiety over memory loss. I also figured that old people were depressed because they were old and they were going to die soon. It turns out that the longer people live, the less they fear dying, and that people are happiest at the beginnings and the ends of their lives. It's called the U-curve of happiness, and it's been borne out by dozens of studies around the world. You don't have to be a Buddhist or a billionaire. The curve is a function of the way aging itself affects the brain. So I started feeling a lot better about getting older, and I started obsessing about why so few people know these things. The reason is ageism, discrimination and stereotyping on the basis of age. We experience it anytime someone assumes we're too old for something, instead of finding out who we are and what we're capable of, or too young. Ageism cuts both ways. All isms are socially constructed ideas: racism, sexism, homophobia, and that means we make them up, and they can change over time. All these prejudices pit us against each other to maintain the status quo, like auto workers in the US competing against auto workers in Mexico instead of organizing for better wages. We know it's not okay to allocate resources by race or by sex. Why should it be okay to weigh the needs of the young against the old? All prejudice relies on othering, seeing a group of people as other than ourselves, other race, other religion, other nationality. The strange thing about ageism, that other is us. Ageism feeds on denial, our reluctance to acknowledge that we are going to become that older person. It's denial when we try to pass for younger, or when we believe in anti-aging products, or when we feel like our bodies are betraying us simply because they are changing. Why on earth do we stop celebrating the ability to adapt and grow as we move through life? Why should aging well mean struggling to look and move like younger versions of ourselves? It's embarrassing to be called out as older until we quit being embarrassed about it. And it's not healthy to go through life dreading our futures. The sooner we get off this hamster wheel of age denial, the better off we are. Stereotypes are always a mistake, of course, but especially when it comes to age, because the longer we live, the more different from one another we become, right? Think about it. And yet, we tend to think of everyone in a retirement home as the same age, old. When they can span 4 decades, can you imagine thinking that way about a group of people between the ages of 20 and 60? When you get to a party, do you head for people your own age? Have you ever grumbled about entitled millennials? Have you ever rejected a haircut or a relationship or an outing because it's not age appropriate? For adults, there's no such thing. All these behaviors are ageist. We all do them, and we can't challenge bias unless we're aware of it. Nobody's born ageist, but it starts in early childhood, around the same time attitudes towards race and gender start to form. Because negative messages about late life bombard us from the media and popular culture at every turn. Right? Wrinkles are ugly. Old people are pathetic. Sad to be old. Look at Hollywood. A survey of recent Best Picture nominations found that only 12% of speaking or named characters were age 60 and up, and many of them were portrayed as impaired. Older people can be the most ageist of all because we've had a lifetime to internalize these messages and we've never thought to challenge them. I had to acknowledge it and stop colluding. Senior moment quips, for example, I stopped making them when it dawned on me that when I lost the car keys in high school, I didn't call it a junior moment. Like I stopped blaming my sore knee on being 64. My other knee doesn't hurt, and it's just as old. We are all worried about some aspect of getting older, whether running out of money, getting sick, ending up alone, and those fears are legitimate and real. But what never dawns on most of us is that the experience of reaching old age can be better or worse depending on the culture in which it takes place. It is not having a vagina that makes life harder for women. It's sexism. It's not loving a man that makes life harder for gay guys. It's homophobia. And it is not the passage of time that makes getting older so much harder than it has to be. It is ageism. When labels are hard to read, or there's no handrail, or we can't open the damn jar, we blame ourselves, our failure to age successfully, instead of the ageism that makes those natural transitions shameful and the discrimination that makes those barriers acceptable. You can't make money off satisfaction, but shame and fear create markets. And capitalism always needs new markets. Who says wrinkles are ugly? The multi-billion-dollar skincare industry. Who says perimenopause and low T and mild cognitive impairment are medical conditions? The trillion-dollar pharmaceutical industry. The more clearly we see these forces at work, the easier it is to come up with alternative, more positive, and more accurate narratives. Aging is not a problem to be fixed or a disease to be cured. It is a natural, powerful, lifelong process that unites us all. Changing the culture is a tall order, I know that, but culture is fluid. Look at how much the position of women has changed in my lifetime, or the incredible strides that the gay rights movement has made in just a few decades, right? Look at gender. We used to think of it as a binary, male or female, and now we understand it's a spectrum. It is high time to ditch the old-young binary too. There is no line in the sand between old and young after which it's all downhill. And the longer we wait to challenge that idea, the more damage it does to ourselves and our place in the world, like in the workforce, where age discrimination is rampant. In Silicon Valley, engineers are getting Botox and hair plugged before key interviews. And these are skilled white men in their 30s. So imagine the effects further down the food chain. The personal and economic consequences are devastating. Not one stereotype about older workers holds up under scrutiny. Companies aren't adaptable and creative because their employees are young. They're adaptable and creative despite it. Companies, we know that diverse companies aren't just better places to work, they work better. And just like race and sex, age is a criterion for diversity. A growing body of fascinating research shows that attitudes towards aging affect how our minds and bodies function at the cellular level. When we talk to older people like this, or call them sweetie or young lady, it's called elder speak, they appear to instantly age, walking and talking less confidently. People with more positive feelings towards aging walk faster, they do better on memory tests, they heal quicker, and they live longer. Even with brains full of plaques and tangles, some people stayed sharp to the end. What did they have in common? A sense of purpose. And what's the biggest obstacle to having a sense of purpose in late life? A culture that tells us that getting older means shuffling off stage. That's why the World Health Organization is developing a global anti-ageism initiative to extend not just lifespan, but health span. Women experience the double whammy of ageism and sexism, so we experience aging differently. There's a double standard at work here, shocker. The notion that aging enhances men and devalues women. Women reinforce this double standard when we compete to stay young, another punishing and losing proposition. Does any woman in this room really believe that she is a lesser version, less interesting, less fun in bed, less valuable than the woman she once was? This discrimination affects our health, our well-being, and our income, and the effects add up over time. They're further compounded by race and by class, which is why everywhere in the world, the poorest of the poor are old women of color. What's the takeaway from that map? By 2050, 1 out of 5 of us, almost 2 billion people, will be age 60 and up. Longevity is a fundamental hallmark of human progress. All these older people represent a vast, unprecedented, and untapped market. And yet, capitalism and urbanization have propelled age bias into every corner of the globe, from Switzerland, where elders fare the best, to Afghanistan, which sits at the bottom of the global Age Watch Index. Half of the world's countries are mentioned on that list because we don't bother to collect data on almost 2 million people because they're no longer young. Almost 2/3 of people over 60 around the world say they have trouble accessing health care. Almost 3/4 say their income doesn't cover basic services like food, water, electricity, and decent housing. Is this the world we want our children, who may well live to be 100, to inherit? Everyone, all ages, all genders, all nationalities, is old or future old. And unless we put an end to it, ageism will oppress us all. And that makes it a perfect target for collective advocacy. Why add another ism to the list when so many, racism in particular, call out for action? Here's the thing, we don't have to choose. When we make the world a better place to grow old in, we make it a better place in which to be from somewhere else, to have a disability, to be queer, to be non-rich, to be non-white. And when we show up at all ages for whatever cause matters most to us, save the whales, save the democracy, we not only make that effort more effective, we dismantle ageism in the process. Longevity is here to stay. A movement to end ageism is underway. I'm in it, and I hope you will join me.
Okay.
I really like that video.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought she was a really good speaker. And she pretty much said it all about ageism.
You can tell that she really cares about what she's sharing, which makes all the difference in the world. Is there anything else you have to show, Kat, or does that wrap up your presentation?
That wraps up my presentation.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for sharing those materials. All right, so we vote on ideas when applicable, but
I have an idea, actually. I just wrote it within, let's see, within Agora.
Oh, okay. Did you read that idea earlier?
No,
Okay, well, could
I
you read
thought I
it?
just concentrated on the presentation more than.
Oh, okay. Well, if you could share that idea with us now, that would be great.
Okay. Um,
Okay, go ahead.
okay, I just made a little blurb about age. All people should be treated equally, no matter what their age is. A person who is elderly should be allowed to work as long as they want or are able to. It should be unlawful to discriminate because of age, whether the person is young or old. Age discrimination can affect people at different times of their lives. Both old and young people may be treated in a different way simply because of their age and is unlawful. This sort of prejudice has no place in modern society. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Kat. So, all right. So usually we vote on ideas when applicable. So I'm going to open the floor. We'll start with a simple vote for what Kat has presented. You can vote yes or no or abstain if you're unsure or feeling mixed. So if you're voting yes to support this idea, you can show it with your hand up. All right, very good. And 3 votes. And if voting no, well, actually, I'll just say that I'm mixed since I'm the only one that didn't vote yes. And I'll tell you some reasons why. I think that discrimination based on age should be lawful in some cases. For example, I think people should be a certain age before they can be lawfully married to protect against pedophilia, victims of pedophilia, people making heavy decisions that they might not be ready for, children who are not fully developed yet. Entering into a marriage is a bad idea. So I think that's an example. Go ahead.
That's a different topic, really. That's about like age of marriage. Really.
Yeah, but I'm saying that is an example of lawful discrimination against age. Yes, Stacy?
I wonder, are age, it's an incredible question, Lois. Are age-based regulations discriminatory, or is that just keeping safe people of a certain general development?
Well, so the word discrimination simply means distinguishing or making a distinction. And sometimes that can be a good thing, sometimes that can be a bad thing. It's prejudice, which is prejudging, looking at one trait of a person and then, just making a decision to dismiss them or misjudge them before you know them. So in answer to that, I think sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. And the reason why I was mixed is because I don't think age discrimination is always a bad thing. I think sometimes it can be a good thing. Let's see, any other questions or comments?
Well, I have list of kind of things that really stood out for me. Immediately when we started talking about ageism, I thought about the advertising of the pharmaceutical companies. If you just watch regular TV, every commercial is okay. So they're making money on people who are pharmaceutical heavy, which are older people. And if you watch those commercials, it just makes you ill just listening to it. I think that it is outlawed in Europe, I understand. You can't advertise pharmaceuticals in some countries in Europe. And I think that we should institute something like that. It's debilitating just to watch those things. And when somebody said we should see the forces at work, I agree. I think that that's the thing that will make the difference. Spreading the word like this cat is excellent so that we can see and understand and spread the word about this type of thing, be educated. And I'll stop there. I have a few more for later.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Stacy. All right, so I'll go next. I think that there were some things that Ashton Applewhite that just gave me chills. One of them was ageism is prejudice against our future self. So it's sort of like projecting fears onto somebody because they represent something that you're afraid of for yourself. And then also that we can't make money off of satisfaction, and shame and fear create markets. So that also is very telling about the marketing of anti-aging products and making people afraid to slow down or have gray hair or have body changes. And then also this thing about creativity and assuming that people who are older are less creative, is that backed up by any amount of science? You know, it doesn't really make sense to me, especially since the schooling system as it is right now is not conducive to creativity. So Leah, where did that come from? Did we just make it up? And then also, it did come to mind something else that Miss Applewhite said about the media worshiping youth, because most of our movies and TV have the younger adults or teenagers in the spotlight and doing cool things. So it's a manipulation of public opinion in a way that's not really ideal or healthy. But it is good news to see that nursing home population is dropping and dementia is dropping. That is good news. All right, Stacy, you're next.
I wanted to hop on where you said about creativity. My 86-year-old father, we spent the last year creating jewelry, and he came up with the most amazing, we're talking women's jewelry. He came up with these amazing designs, and absolutely, there is no reason why older people are not creative. My mother is 83. She still paints. She has started a very large painting. And I absolutely believe that helps people be more vital, and it gives a sense of purpose. And that's what we all need, creativity, that you can't take that out of our life. And when we took it out of our children's schools, I think that was a travesty as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Stacy. That sounds really awesome. I know there's more creative work. I like doing creative artsy work like that, but I don't really make the time to do it right now. But when I get older, maybe, I don't know. But it's really good to hear that your relatives are doing things like that. Kathleen, you're next.
Okay, in response to one of your comments, I think Applewhite was referring at one point to like jobs. Often when you reach a certain age in employment, you're considered not as vital. And that's pretty typical. Like, oh, you're 50. I often get the comments like, you're 52, as if it's a negative thing. And I feel it's a positive thing. I have all this experience behind me. I'm a responsible person. I mean, much more responsible than when I was younger. So, I mean, it can only be a good thing, but it's some employers, turn it around into like, well, we would really like a younger person. But recently, I talked to a younger friend. She was 29, and she said something about like she has 2 degrees, and employers see her as overqualified, even though she's like not older. She's like at a good age to be employed. She also said employers often want somebody fresh out of school, out of university, so they can pay them less. But usually that's a lot younger than 30. It's like 18 or 19, or at least 20 when you're out of university. And that's it. That's
Thank you, Kat. Interesting. Stacy, go ahead.
I wanted to comment on Kat when she was talking about older people in jobs. And I've noticed in my life experience that there is a tendency for older people to be let go over the younger people. And I would say the reason is the older people are not as likely to kill themselves and work ridiculous hours and do all of the crazy things that an employer would reward. They've been around enough to know this is ridiculous for my health. I can't keep this up. And so when they can hire somebody out of college who doesn't know any better, who's listening, oh, I've got to make it, I got to keep this job, they will do ridiculous things. So I think that's a big reason why young people are hired and older people are let go.
Thank you, Stacy. Good observations. Wow, I'm going to write that down. So I think it is kind of odd that when I'm listening to you and reflecting, it is rather odd that in the workplace there's generally more prejudice against people older than people younger, because younger people lack experience, lack wisdom, generally, less responsible. Older people have more of those things, generally speaking. It is strange and fishy. And I have also experienced what I would consider ageism myself. When I went in for casting for a role, I wanted to audition for a teenage role because, I look, I could pass for a teenager, especially when I'm not wearing makeup. But the casting director looked at my age and didn't even give me a chance to audition. And that was disappointing to me because, like, hey, like, you're not looking at me, you're looking at this number on the page. But it actually turned out really well because I got an even better role. But this is all very interesting to think about. Okay, Kat, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I might have forgotten what I was talking about. But Yeah, I had something similar happen to me at a job. There was a day where they were getting everybody together to shoot a video to put on the website, where they have pictures of people in different scenes and everything is like a marketing ploy, for this company. And they chose all the younger people and left out all the older people, you know, the not so good looking older people. So I felt a bit awkward. I was like, okay, I'm one of the not so greatest looking older people, so it didn't feel so great. So there's also those kind of things that happen within a team. And also gossip. I heard later when I left that company, because it was only a temporary job for a year, a contract job, that some of the younger guys at the company, the programmers, were actually, I thought everybody was nice and not saying anything negative. And then I heard later that they were, from another coworker that I worked with. So that was kind of disappointing, because I thought they were nice coworkers. And it was related to my age, maybe the way I looked and stuff like that. So. Okay. Who's next?
Thank you for sharing your experience, Kat. I think Stacy is next. Go ahead, Stacy.
To talk to what you just said, Kat, there are mean people that we work with no matter what age we are. I don't think I've ever experienced a social interaction that I didn't find out somebody was thinking something negative or talking bad afterwards. It's just a social disease I think we have. I'm sure it's worse in these kinds of instances, though, I understand. And I hope that millennials, I understand millennials are really, really unhappy in the workplace and not putting up with these same things that we're talking about that happen to a lot of people, how difficult the workplace is. So I hope that they will help us make a permanent change in our workplaces in that regard, make it a better place to work, because they don't like what's happening either. Thank you.
So my hand is up. I'll go next. So I have heard some people say we should get younger people in politics because there are too many older people in politics and they're not innovative. They're just clinging to the way things are and the status quo, and we need fresh ideas and fresh energy, these kinds of arguments. And when I first heard that, I thought, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But then after listening to this, I think, wait, no, maybe that's not a good idea. We need like mature people in politics, because government is a serious business, But also in a podcast I was listening to this morning, I heard it said that age diversity is the most effective metric of diversity because of how much the brain changes. So that means that more than focusing on like racial diversity or sex diversity, we should be focusing more on age diversity and making sure we have people of different generations working together to run a nation or anything else like that. And there are sometimes criticisms for people who have so I'll try not to name any names, but there are criticisms of people who don't remember things or get mixed up or forget how they were going to finish their sentence, and they say that that person is too old. When I think what they really should be saying is, this person is not sharp enough, because people of all ages may forget what they're saying or forget where they are. Maybe it is more common as people get older, but if we don't have to draw attention to people's age, then we shouldn't. Because this ageism is a bigger deal than I first thought. All right, I see some things are in the comments. Kathleen says this was the first job that she heard this. Stacy says, agreed, anything we should do, consider the full spectrum involved. Stereotyping. Kat says, yeah, it is stereotyping. Okay, any other questions or comments? Yes, Stacy, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to reassess the capitalism part of it. I think it would be an incredibly less of an issue if there wasn't the capitalism part of it. There's just a lot of money to be made about the fear of aging. And it's so funny lately how much I've been finding that capitalism, or at least the way that we're using it today, selling products out of fear, is so debilitating and really a major part of if not all the issues that we're experiencing right now. So here it is. It's raising its ugly head with ageism, pharmaceuticals. I think if we focus a lot on capitalism as well, we could make some differences.
Thank you, Stacy. I do like the idea of getting to the roots of problems instead of treating symptoms or plastering a Band-Aid over it. So I think that is worth exploring. Kathleen, go ahead.
I mentioned Kim Kardashian recently. There was a big hoopla over the fact that I think she or maybe one of her followers accidentally put up a picture of her without filters, just showing her, or without makeup or filters. But I mean, she makes her money off her looks and the makeup and everything else. So this could be damaging, to her business, because, but I thought it was interesting, that a lot of people are realizing that she uses a lot of filters, because there are filters like on Zoom where you can make yourself look prettier, during a presentation or something, and you can add lipstick and everything else. It's amazing. It's kind of awkward when you move around, though. You can sort of see your lips. But I mean, these filters are everywhere, for photographs and pictures and everything. So it was interesting. I think there is more criticism about filters now, which I think is a good thing, because I think we should get to the point where we should appreciate how we really look like and accept it. I mean, we can always, like, if we go out, we can always look prettier, put makeup on and put like a nice dress and costume on. But I think we should also have a society where we learn to accept ourselves as the way we are, even with our imperfections.
Thank you, Kat. Very well said. Stacy?
When I traveled to New Zealand a few years ago, I was stunned by their TV programs. They had news programs that I saw and soap operas. And the people were real people. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That there was people with teeth that needed straightening and normal hair, normal makeup. It was wonderful to watch, but it was completely different from what we experience here in the States. And I would say, let's copy New Zealand. You can make people feel normal with the kind of TV that you show.
Good idea, Stacy. I like it. Kay?
Yes, thanks. That's so funny you would mention that, Stacy, because I was going to touch on how I'll watch a show that's international and it's so different. And I like how specific it was. Like, teeth need to be fixed, and they might not have the best complexions. They look completely like everyday people. So I was going to mention that, yes, it does seem that way, that we're really focused on just celebrating more of just the youth and trying so hard to stay young in the States. And a friend of mine said when she went to Europe, she said, you can see how the elderly people or the elders are celebrated. You'd feel even more comfortable growing older out of this country and feel more respected, which I just thought was just so interesting. And you just see so many, just as we're conversating, I'm thinking about the commercials that I see where there's a cream that's even supposed to transform how your knees look, just trying to do everything they can just to keep yourself looking very, very young. And I think I remember the one you talked to, the Kardashian you're talking about, Kat. Was it the bikini picture of Khloe Kardashian that they say they're trying really hard to remove because it wasn't an authorized picture?
Yeah, something like that, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that too and thinking, well, I mean, you look every day, because of course I was curious to see how horrible is this picture. And it wasn't that bad. It's like, oh, well, it's just an everyday person. But yes, and also when it mentioned the filters, and they have become out of control. I think I first realized about the filters on the popular social media app, Snapchat. There's just so many where you can completely transform your face. Your face would be slimmer, would make you have this perfect complexion. And then it started rolling into Instagram and moving forward. And a friend of mine, actually, she just started on one of the dating sites. She says, you can totally tell that so many people are using filters in their pictures. I'm really nervous to find out who I'm going to meet if we do meet someone offline. And it's like, wow. So she said there's actually a rule that's come up on some of these dating sites. It says you do not use filtered pictures. And if they find out they're filtered, then they will be removed. So it is something that just so many people feel are necessary and just wanting to be their true self. If you just whatever you look like looks fine. And it's just crazy how that's being seen as something bad. You shouldn't want to look like how you really look. So I'll end my rambling. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Kay. Yeah, some people are literally afraid of cameras if they don't have makeup on their face. And part of it may be because we're just so used to seeing like filtered and brushed and perfected pictures. If the more natural pictures were more common, then that wouldn't be as much of a fear. But I think what was said about elderly being more respected in other parts of the world, I do remember when I was younger, I was looking forward to getting older so that I'd be taken more seriously and more respected and like listened, and that people would listen to me, you know, and hear what I have to say. I do remember in a church I used to be in, I was talking with one of the elders, I guess you could say, about like what I believed and how I disagreed with something. And he said, "Oh, you're young." And I was like, no. And it was frustrating to me because I can't change how old I am. It's something out of my control. So there was nothing I could do to have this person listen to me except wait to get older. I think that we should stop keeping that. I think that we should stop keeping our age a secret. I think, you know, age is just a number for how long you've been around in your body. And the way I look at it, people are afraid of being judged. But that is how old you are. You know, that's the truth. It would be a true judgment. And if people are like disliking you because you're older, that would expose themselves. That would expose their own prejudice. Okay, Kat, what do you have to say?
Well, I thought it was funny when you said when you get older, you know, with your experience with that guy, you know, like you think people will respect you more, but it's not true. It doesn't happen. Unless like you're a perfect speaker. So I think that matters more than anything, you know, if you're a good speaker. So it's funny because when I was younger, I was like that too. It's like, when I'm older, maybe I could be a better public speaker. You know? So, you know, you have all these aspirations when you're younger, but when you're older, it's like you find it's just a bit silly, you know, because you might have more experience, like say within the field of whatever you're working with. And, you know, but I I never condescend, or I try not to condescend to people who are younger than me. I mean, whenever I'm in like work position, I have more experience than a younger person. I try to teach them, you know, what I know, or try to help them, because I think that's a better way to go about it than just, you know, be condescending towards them. And when I worked in management, I did it that way because I think people are more motivated when you're positive as opposed to negative. So all my one thing about being a project manager, all my projects were successful, and I think part of the reason is because I try to motivate the people who I managed, and say good things like, you did a good job, this is great, thank you, you know, and appreciate them. Whereas some of the other managers were so negative. And even one of the owners was like a bit harsh with the programmers. So I try to be positive. And I think that's a good thing. I think positive reinforcement goes further, a lot further. And I think young people should not like think, oh, when I'm older, I'll be better, or, you know, it's like, yeah, maybe it can be better in some ways, but we're always developing it through time. It never stops. Okay.
Thank you, Kat. Yeah, good public speaking makes a big difference, and energy, as you said. And then earlier, as I said, caring about what you're talking about makes a big difference as well. So age is not that important. And also, speaking of being younger and wanting to be respected, people have told me that I'm good with children, and children do tend to like me. And I think the number one reason it is this way is because I remember being a child, and I remember sometimes I would express my frustration with something, and people would say, "Oh, like, okay," like because I was so cute, and like I'd be frustrated, and people would just smile at me, and I'd be like, "You're not taking me seriously." So I really try to take children seriously and to value what they're thinking. And I think they like that. And I would have liked that as a child. Not that I never got that, but I remember specific times when I felt like I wasn't getting that. Children are smarter than we give them credit for, I think. All right. So, Kat, your hand is still up. Did you have something else to add?
Yeah, I agree with your comment about children. I think we should listen to them more because, they haven't been inundated about with society, and all the do's and don'ts of society. So they just say it like it is. So sometimes I just listen to kids and I think, whoa, what they're saying is really great. It's like the young Swedish environmentalist. I mean, she just says it as it is. And I think that's really a good thing.
I think there have been times when a child is saying something or doing something, and I think they are so cute, but I try not to let it show too much on my face, because I want to show them that, I'm taking them seriously. But it's sometimes really hard because they are really cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think we can move it to, all right. Okay, yeah, so we will have another vote for this idea. If you agree with the idea that Kat has presented, you can raise your hand. And actually, Kat, if you'd like to summarize your idea again, since we've been talking for a while, could you give us the main point of the idea that you're presenting today?
Okay, just the main point is just not to discriminate with age, to have a society that doesn't base things on age, really, in the sense of like jobs and stuff, that you're still valid even when you get older. As you age, it should be respected, I think.
All right, great. If there is agreement for that idea, you can raise your hand. Yay, there is consensus, which I like. And whenever there's consensus, I do a little party emoji in my corner. I agree. If we're talking about jobs, then yes, I fully agree. It was just with like laws about marriage or about voting. If there isn't an education requirement, there should be an age requirement.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't specify it in detail. I do think like one thing, like if we expect men and women to go to war, they should be able to drink. Like if they join the military at the age of 18, they should be able to drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I had a debate about that topic when I was in college in a debate class, some kind of debate class. We did that. Interesting for sure. Maybe that could be another topic for a future citizen assembly meeting. Yeah. But anyway, we will move into closing comments if there's nothing else. So Stacy, your closing comments, please.
Good talk. It brought things to my mind that I hadn't thought of before. I enjoyed that. I will definitely be taking what I learned here to my other projects. So thank you very much.
That's really good to hear it's really good to hear that ideas here are being taken elsewhere. That's a good sign. Thank you, Stacy. Kay, your closing remarks, please.
Yes, thanks, Lois. This was a good topic. It's something that's just so relevant to today, and just something that probably has even more things to touch on. Just when finding out we were going to speak about it, I did just more research on it and found out that the Silicon Valley is just it's known or has a higher rate of ageism, which is kind of disappointing. And they tied it in with the tech jobs. So I did find it interesting that in the TED Talk that was shared, the speaker did actually touch on Silicon Valley. Also, Kat, if possible, if you could share the link to that TED Talk, that would be great. But wonderful topic, and looking forward to the next one. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Kay. And Kat, you're up for closing comments.
Okay, thank you for listening to my presentation. I think it was a good topic in the sense of like it's coming up, I think, as the population around the world is aging. I mean, she showed a map in the TED Talks presentation of like how much the world is aging now. So I think it's a real issue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Kat. It is interesting because the world is aging. And so maybe ageism will be brought more and more to the front of the public mind. Yes, thank you very much for giving that presentation and sharing your experiences, everybody. I also enjoyed this talk. It's motivating and encouraging. You can, for people viewing online, you can check out the description and see a link to the idea discussed, and also a link to where you can check out other events that you can join. Next week's topic will be on school uniforms. We will be returning to the topic of education and talking about the pros and cons of school uniforms. So I hope to see you there. Thank you once again, everyone, for attending. Have a good day. Have a good night.